after you realize like, Jesus, the worst that's going to happen is you lose the amount that you risked on the trade. Okay, perfect. You got, whether you're trading real capital or prop firm capital, doesn't really matter. Obviously, real capital does hurt a little bit more when you do take a little bit of a lick. But
we forget to think about those moments instead of just focusing on, price just ran without me and I left all this money on the table. But what about I got out at the top and price pulled back and it saved me? Like
later. Like at the beginning of this year when I went, air quotes full time and was, just sitting at my desk for 8 hours a day trying to think of content to make and all of this, like I was wrapping myself up so much with this trader personality, this online influencer, that when I wasn't seeing results immediately, it just left me like discouraged.
In the prop space, I think we have to name this like the blow up week or something.
Yeah.
Because in prop space, that's the week where you literally blow every account that you currently own.
Yeah.
This is Behind the Charts podcast, where real traders have real conversation. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the pod. We are here with a very special guest today, James Bruce. He's coming in from South Africa. We got all different time zones today. I woke up about an hour ago, and James just finished eating dinner. So we're going to have a great conversation today about all things trading and specifically being hard to kill, because I had the pleasure of meeting James Bruce back in December of 2023 at the London conference. And this was like a really foundational moment for me in my trading career, meeting professionals for the first time and, really putting some faces to the names online. And, for anyone who has not been to an in-person event, I would highly recommend, making that happen, because the connections you'll make will be invaluable. But with all that being said, thanks, James, for coming on the pod. And how are we all doing today?
No, sure. Thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it. Always love chatting to you guys. Obviously, trading with you guys, chatting to you guys. So yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been such a cool experience trading specifically with you in the Black Shirt Club live chat over the last year, and we'll get into some of the reasons why in a little bit. But I just wanted to kick off the pod with like, how did your first 2 years of trading go, James? Because I don't know if I know a lot about how the first 2 years went for you. Austin's told me in the background that trading came very easy to you, but I want to know from your perspective, how was your first 2 years?
Yeah, well, not as good as your guys' first years, I can tell you that. I think it was tough. I think I had to learn only 6 months into my trading what a stop loss was. So a lot more different to what you guys had it. I think back when I started, I think it was August 2018. There was not really much great content, to be honest. I think kind of like the biggest guys online were like the signal sellers and stuff like that. I bought a heap of that type of stuff. So like there was not great content, to be honest, online. Like what there is now, you have to like cipher through a lot of nonsense, right? So my first 2 years was I would say it was tough. But then after, I'd say I met Austin. I think I met Austin in about at least his content in about like June 2019, and I started in August 2019, and then basically I got his courses at about like the 18th month mark, I'd say. And then that's kind of where things started to change. I got his courses at the end of December 2019. And then that's kind of where it like that's like a stop loss is what like how much you should be risking per trade. And at that time, you got to remember that there was no prop firms or anything like that. So I was basically putting in like $1,000 into accounts and then like blowing it in like a week. And then, so it was a lot more, how can I say, a lot more mentally taxing than, putting $100 into a prop firm account and losing $100, at a time. So, first years was definitely the Wild West back in the day for sure.
So then how long would you say it took for you to become profitable?
I would say probably just under a full 2 years. As I said, I kind of got Austin's courses at about the 18th, 19 month mark. And then I would say it took me about like another 4 to 5 months to basically kind of get, I think once I got like the basics down, my biggest thing was I hated losing. Coming from the professional sporting background, I would say in terms of like what Austin says about trading coming naturally to me, I would probably agree with that from a competitive aspect of like, okay, the sporting aspect, wanting to be better, that type of stuff, doing daily report cards. Because I didn't know what that type of stuff was as well. Like, I didn't know, like, how was I supposed to improve or learn from mistakes until I met Austin. And then from there, like, it just kind of helped so much because now I got pointed in, like, the right path in terms of how to improve. And it's like where I don't know, Thomas, if you started at ASFX, but I know obviously Randy did, obviously we worked together right from the start. And I wish I'd got the right guidance in terms of like how to, what path to kind of go down, in order to like, this is what you need to do to improve. And there's kind of just the time in the saddle type of, if that metaphor, whatever. But I also saw like Christine the other day, or a couple of months ago, saying like, geez, like, you 2 years into your trading and you like haven't seen much like breakthrough yet. And it's like, you still new. Like, when I was 2 years in, I was like still learning about stop losses and that type of stuff. So,
wow. Because I feel like it's such a special opportunity to have you on the podcast, because when we trade in the live room, you're so unemotional about your trades. You're just like, I'm in the DAX shorts and like, that's all. You never give more. You're not like worried about it. And we've had the opportunity to trade with enough people where you see people freaking out in their trades. You see people in, out, long, short. And over the last year, I see how much conviction you have in your trades. And even when they're like probably the wrong trade, even when they're a bad loser, you're still just willing to take it on the chin. And have you always had this mindset, or was there something that shifted for you throughout your trading career that's made it easier to be very detached from the trade? Yeah. Because it's such a buzzword, but it's really something that we all need to embody.
Yeah, I think probably taking a bunch of losses, like especially ones that hurt. I think there's not much after that. After you realize, like, Jesus, the worst that's going to happen is you lose the amount that you risked on the trade. Okay, perfect. You got, whether you're trading real capital or prop firm capital, doesn't really matter. Obviously, real capital does hurt a little bit more when you do take a little bit of a lick. But I think it's just from being in the game. I'm still quite new to this. I've been doing this 7 years now. I still find that quite new. But it's just taking losses. Being, the worst that's going to happen is I lose. Okay, I risked $1,000 on my personal account. The worst that's going to happen is I lose $1,000. Cool, we move on. And I think also trading, like, particularly now, because obviously I went, for those that don't know, we were trading currencies. Thomas, when I met Thomas in end of 2023, we were trading currencies. And I had great success there. But I think what happened is currency market kind of dried up a bit, and we had to move over to like the indexes and stocks, basically the stock market, where obviously things are moving every single day. But I think experience trading the assets, trading, taking losses, taking wins. And I think the biggest thing about what I've experienced in my own trading is like, you can have a great year and all your profits can come from literally like 3 or 4 months of trading. You might be, down, you might lose a bunch of accounts, or whether you're trading prop firms, you might lose a bunch of accounts, and maybe you're down like 10 grand in the whole of accounts. And then all of a sudden you have a 4-month patch where you take out like 60, 70, 80 grand, and there's your year, So obviously, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. So taking losses, I think, would be, why I'm confident. But again, from like the past, from rugby days, you have to be confident in what you're doing as well, right?
And I want to bring you guys in the conversation too. So Christine, do you feel like you're detached from the trade outcome? How do you feel like you're managing your trades right now?
That's a great question. And it's funny because I had this today, and it's like, I've worked with James for so long. Since I got into the Black Shirt Club, James was my coach, same as Randy. And there has to be something to say because we're still here showing up every day. But as a lot of people know, listening to this podcast, my journey is taking a little longer than, let's say, Randy, superstar Randy. But today I really noticed that I am still managing my trades more emotionally. Basically, and it's on both ends, managing my trades because of profit, because I see a dollar number. And then also the aftermath of that management, feeling a certain way about it. For example, I took a trade. What did I get out of that trade? Probably 1R. It was close to 1R trade. Yeah, it was. It was over 1R. But I felt bad because the move went so much higher. And if I just had trailed my stop instead of taking profit to get myself back to break even, it would have been a different outcome. But those are both emotional responses, because I could have looked at it totally differently. I could have said, took 1R out of that trade, great, done. Doesn't matter that I went to the sky after I could have gotten 2R out of that trade. Or I could have managed it where I just trail my stop, not caring if I get back to break even, and just trading the trade as it is. So I feel like the emotions are on both ends. And it was just a real, very good confrontation today to say to myself, okay, I'm not there yet. So if I look at my past performance, there's reasons, like there's a reason why I'm not super profitable yet. But realizing these things, I think, is all part of it. Like I've had countless conversations with James and you guys about this. It's like just never ending learning.
It is.
Yeah. And what about you, Randy? How you feeling in this space?
I think exactly like Christine nailed it. We were both in a trade yesterday where, we had a loser and then we are just trying to get our losses back. And we ended up closing our trade out just to be, plus, I think she was $3. That was $9 on the day. And literally when we closed our trade, price just pulled immediately back. And we would have got stopped out at break even or taken a loss. And I think we forget to think about those moments instead of just focusing on, price just ran without me and I left all this money on the table. But what about I got out at the top and price pulled back and it saved me? Like it's so hard to, we glamorize the days where price moves 100 points and we could have had a $10 million trade on. And then we forget about the days where it's like, no, we followed our process and trusted what we were doing and, came out green, whether it's $9 or $500. So I think slowly you start to notice that. And even now, until like just speaking those words and talking about it, I didn't really think about it until Christine said it. I thought about because today I was in a long and I missed the long and I got in later and then I took profits and price just kept going. It just kept pushing higher. And I was like, I'm done for the day. What am I? I can't be mad at myself for that. Like I said, after I closed the trade, I'm locking my account. Even if price came back down, like I locked my account. Like I can either be like, I'm good with what happened, or I can, not detach from. It's detaching from the outcome more or less. And if you're green, you're green. You're red, you're red. But if you keep the red smaller, obviously, than your green days, you're winning that battle. But
yeah, and like everyone's no stranger to the fact that I've been in a little bit of I was in a bit of a rut, thinking way too much about the outcome. And like I had 2 red months where I felt like I couldn't hit a trade. I think I probably took about 50 trades during that period and won 10. Like it was really not going well. And I know, James, you were in a little bit of a similar period at the beginning of the year, and we had a couple calls about it. And
yeah,
I'm just now finally feeling like back on track. And if anything, I'm actually a little overconfident now because the last 3 weeks or so I've been trading so well, so detached from the outcome. Like I feel like I have a new renowned mindset as I'm trading where I'm only looking at the candles in relation to Bookmap, and I'm not anymore looking at the P&L. And like, just as a side note for me on my own trading, adding Bookmap has been one of the biggest helps because now I just have so much more confidence in my take profits, and I can just see what's going on. And when there's the orders at 40 and the orders at 50, and we're just chopping it around at 45, I'm like, okay, this is all normal. I'm not stressing about the consolidation because like just yesterday I saw someone in the Black Shirt Club. I'm guilty of doing this in the past too, where they said I pulled the trade because I didn't like the consolidation. And it's like that's like the worst reason to get out of a trade. Like, what does that even mean? It has nothing to do with the charts, and it has everything to do with yourself and your own like interpretation. And I know when we're in red periods, we often attach ourselves more to the trades. And my question for you, James, is at 6-7 years in the game, is that still happening? Like at the beginning of this year, did you find yourself attached to the trades more or just not trading well?
Yeah, it's a good, as I said, like I think what a lot of people, I actually had someone come in the Black Shirt Club and they had like a great start to the Black, it was like their first maybe 6 months still of trading. And then they were trading well and they're like, James, am I just going to be printing money all the time? And it's like, no, like you're going to have some tough times that maybe you're not reading the charts well and everything like that. So I think what I've kind of got accustomed to is actually, like there's going to be patches where you just aren't reading it well. But I think something that I actually was doing too much in the beginning of the year was I was going back to old bad habits, putting my self-worth in my trading results. And something that actually that I obviously had, for those that don't know, I had my wife and I, Amanda, had our first child, Beckham, born in February. So a lot was going on as well. I think I was probably just overthinking my trading. I think, so here's some mistakes I was making in the beginning of the year personally. What I was trading too many assets. Right now, I'm really only, and I've kind of the last 3 months where I've had solid months, I've locked into trading just the DAX in the London session or S&P and NASDAQ in the New York session. So that's been kind of like a breath of fresh air, just being able to like lock in on, kind of one or two assets. That's been neat. And not trying to, not worrying about outside influences, who's doing what. I'm just focused on myself. I think that's something that I was too focused on in the start of the year. Which obviously adds extra pressure. But I think after being in the game now 7 years, you've got to realize that it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be some times where sometimes you actually just got to say, listen, I'm actually not seeing the market well. I actually just need a break from the charts or whatever it is. I actually also, after February happened, I actually also hired a in-person performance coach that I have every single month. And that's been helping me a lot as well because I'm in contact with him every single day. He didn't know much about trading in the beginning because he's mostly worked with like, high net worth business guys. And I was like, dude, I'm going to have to obviously explain how this trading thing works. And he's been great because he's also works with like golfers and stuff like that, sportsmen. So it's been great for me also to put things into perspective. And we've been working on a few things in terms of like preparation, and holding myself accountable as well. Because I also think in the Black Shirt Club, sometimes it can be quite tough personally for me, being a quote unquote coach. Sometimes I don't have anyone to hold myself accountable to because no one's checking my work or something like that. So I've kind of had to be my own coach. And now having someone like where we check in every single day has been quite neat. Obviously, I have Amanda too, but sometimes she can be a bit too harsh. But yeah, exactly. But I think in the beginning of the year, just honestly, I think the more that you get into terms with not putting your emotional attachment to your P&L, but also keeping things simple. I think for me, I was trying to overcomplicate everything instead of just being like, listen, dude, I'm trading the DAX and that's what I'm doing. Or and obviously in the New York session, I'm trading the S&P. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Just keeping things simple has been what's helped me rebound from a poor start to the year.
That's perfect because I have a couple tweets. James is awesome on Twitter, always putting out so much content, and it's all educational, which I appreciate. One of my favorite tweets from you, there's two I have. First one is, you don't need 10 charts. You need one you truly understand. DAX only has changed my entire edge. One setup, one session, one target. All of us in here are pretty much one asset traders. James may be the only one who occasionally will do 2 or 3.
Maybe, yeah.
But I just want everyone to speak on, how has trading one asset, impacted your trading in any way, shape, or form? So Christine, why don't you kick us off?
Well, when I started trading, and James will remember this, I was trading the 5 minute. Yeah. Opening orb. I was trading Stockland, and I would trade the big 7. So I would sit there and I would I would have to try to pick out which one was going to be the best mover. And I would maybe take a trade on one. And then obviously hindsight, you look and you say, oh, well, that wasn't the right one. So you're always like in this zone of frustration. When I moved to futures, I literally had one chart, and what a big difference, especially when you're learning. When you're like at the top of your game and you want to trade a couple different charts, go for it. But when you're trying to learn price movement on a chart because they're all different. Like you can sit there and watch Tesla. I remember when I first started trading, I watched Tesla a lot and you got like a feel of how it moved. We talked about this last time that we were all together. The fact that the longer you watch the charts, the more intuition you build on that specific asset and the way that moves, and being able to focus on one, you're going to gain so much more familiarity with that than you would if you were trading multiple assets.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and I just want to add this before I've got something to also speak about Randy on this topic as well, because I want to remind Randy about a few things when he first started trading. But I agree with this 100%, and I think just to add on this is I think that as I said, keeping things simple and staying focused on yourself. When I first, the reason I'll tell you why the reason why I was looking to trade everything. Like start of the year, I was wanting to trade Bitcoin, and I was wanting to trade some stocks, is because, and I like the guy. But I think sometimes what he says is not always true. Is Lance Bryan's team? He used to say you need to trade stocks and play, or the ES or in the NQ Furus, or only trade that. And I'm like, there's actually guys like we've seen guys in the Black Shirt Club. Nick, crushing it, trading one asset. So, like, I think you got to find what suits you. And for me, like going back to just trading, as I said, I trade because I have to fit in with you with the Yanks, right? I've got to trade. I've got to trade American stock indexes too. So I trade obviously in the London session DAX, which is like I really love the DAX. And then, as I said, Nasdaq or S&P in the afternoon. But I want to also mention this to Randy. Randy used to trade. He used to wake up. When Randy and I first started working last year, February, we used to wake up at like flipping 4 in the morning and trade oil pre-market. Remember that, Randy?
Oh yeah,
Andy.
Oh, I remember. I think my first trade in oil, I made like $3,000 in a combine, and I was like, oh my god, like this is like life changing.
Yeah.
Like I can picture myself on a yacht in a few weeks. Like life is like, this is it. And then the next day, I think I took like a $10,000 loss, or I blew a combine or something. So I was just like, I thought oil was the answer. And I even remember Austin laughing about it when I put an oil markup in the Black Shirt Club, because there was another guy, Tyler, was trading oil. Yep. And Austin's like, when are you guys going to learn? Like, to go either pick ES or NASDAQ or something.
Yeah.
And,
oil, the worst.
Oh, it was fun.
So what? Overall, Randy, you're glad you trade ES now instead of oil?
Yes. Even I've played with NQ, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times. And the adrenaline rush of the moves I enjoyed, but obviously if they're going in the wrong direction, it just... Yeah. And then all this talk of stop hunts, and NQ does all this stop hunts, and it'll stop you, it moves this. And then I was just like, I like ES. And like, I think who was saying it, Christine, but you start to build this intuition when you're watching the chart. And even today and yesterday, I was sitting here and watching Bookmap and what I'm looking at, and I'm just like, I can feel this. Like, I know something is either, and maybe it happens 5 times, 6, 7, 8 times out of 10. It still happens, but it's like you get stronger and stronger, that intuition in you. Or maybe I think this is going to spill over now, and what happens, it'll spill over because you're so used to watching. It's like pattern recognition, I think, is another thing people underlook when it comes to trading. Is like, it's not about math. It's not, we've talked about this how many times. It's about pattern recognition, like just looking at the charts. And like Thomas, you said, like, you're just looking at the candles now in Bookmap. That's it. You don't even care what the P&L is, because that's all that really matters. Because you could be 1 micro, or you could be 100 minis, right? Like, P&L don't matter. It's the candles printing and what you're using, your tools you're using are telling you.
I know, dude. Literally, like, I feel like I'm at the peak of my trading edge right now, with being able to identify what is my edge. And now it's very clear. My edge is in the first 2 hours of the day, when we're trading around the opening range and then going to interact with the previous day's New York VWAP. Like, that for me is my edge. And I'm really narrowing down on my setups. And I love the ASFX phrase of do it less, do it bigger, do it better, because I'm like, I want to be at the desk trading for, 2 hours. That's it. And I just want to be off doing another thing. I feel like I've really detached my personality from, being a trader. Like at the beginning of this year, when I went, air quotes, full time, and was, just sitting at my desk for 8 hours a day, trying to think of content to make and all of this, like I was wrapping myself up so much with this trader personality, this online influencer, that when I wasn't seeing results immediately, it just left me like discouraged, depressed, like, just in a terrible place. And, I really needed to move as well, like just to get out of my current environment. But now I'm like, I just want the least amount to do with the charts. Like, just get me on and get me off. I'm taking one trade, maybe 2 trades a day, and just like being happy. Because for me on the West Coast, I'm getting up at 5:30, desk at 6:30. Sometimes I'm done by 8. It's like you can't really make that up. And there's only one profession that allows you to do that, which is so cool, and just speaks to really the importance of just trading one asset.
I do agree just on that as well. It's like when you're only trading one asset, as Randy was saying, like you get in the feel of it, like where it is, where it's trading. And you kind of like, I'd rather trade 5 times in a week and end in the week up green than, whether that's 1 or 2% on my account balances, then try and trade 20 times in the week and actually end down. It's like that, what Pac said, like the less I trade, the happier I am.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to try and catch everything. So I think I was getting too caught up in that S&B, no offense, but I love the content that they put up, but that S&B Capital where they're trading stocks and play, like Christine was saying, in terms of like where you have to try and catch the stock and play every single day. It can be a flipping headache at times. Like it can. Whereas when you're trading only one asset, when to sit in your hands, and you get as Randy said, you get a feel for it, where it's at and stuff like that. I must say this, and I want to just speak a little bit about prop firms as well. And it's something that I've actually struggled with a little bit personally, I would say, actually as prop firms as a whole. And that's why I'm so glad actually they first started out with the future side of things, but now with the CFD side of things, they're actually bringing it to is the instant funding accounts. Mm-hmm. And this is why, and I've actually picked up a bunch of accounts, and I'm going to Europe tomorrow for a couple of weeks. So I'll pick up some more and try and scale it when I get back. But basically why I say this is that let's use FTMO as an example. They have been around in the CFD space the longest. Okay. To pass an FTMO challenge, you basically have to pass 10% phase 1, 5% phase 2, and then you still got to make money on that to actually make 1 cent. Okay. So you basically need to make 15% before you even see any form of profits. With instant accounts, yes, you got the consistency scores on the trailing drawdown, but you can literally make like 4 to 5% of your account balance, and you can take a payout. Obviously, you're not going to be able to make massive gains in one day because of the consistency score, but I think it treats for me, because I remember I had my first solid year trading personal capital. So it's more realistic in terms of trading like real capital, because you're not trying to like if you lose 10% in the space of a week on personal capital, you're going to be pretty pissed off, right? So the reason I say is because you can actually be a profitable trader trading 2-step challenges. Let me give you an example. You can make 10%, and then you can make 5%, and then you might lose on the funded account and you've lost 10%. But technically, you actually still net positive 5%, but you've made the root of nothing. Whereas like the instant accounts, you actually reward the real traders that can actually trade for like 2 to 3 weeks consistently, get a payout, and then try and repeat it again, and you go like that consistently. So that's, for me, I think it's been a game changer, and I don't know why I didn't get into it earlier.
So James, we've been talking about this on the podcast, and I think it's like a full-on, it's not an argument, it's like an argument with ourselves in our confusion of what we believe to be better or not. And I get it, because I was at that point, because I had only traded combines, and I thought, wow, if I just moved straight to funded, like I've passed multiple combines, these could be all payouts. Why am I sitting in combines? There's some voodoo curse that happens when you decide that you could be a profitable trader because you just move yourself to straight to funded. Well, guess what? It actually doesn't work for shit. You can't pass a funded account for as long as you try. And there's something with that. So we've just had the conversation, and Thomas can probably talk about it, is the consistency rule actually messing you up to a certain extent? Because something about it stops you. Like it puts back the emotion on it. But when you're in combines, you don't have that same emotion. And then when you're in an account, like once you've passed a combine or a challenge, you get to an account where you don't have the consistency or you don't have a profit target. That's the big one, is a profit target. And therefore, all that money that you make is technically feels more yours. I think like Thomas and Randy should chime in on this because it has been a conversation with us, like whether or not we even like prop firms, whether or not we like consistency rule, we don't like consistency rule, all of that.
I'll say my difficulty with it is, which I think James can answer perfectly, because he is a 6-figure personal account trader. And I feel like having the profit target and the consistency rule skews what real trading looks like. Because like you've already mentioned on the podcast, the 80-20 rule, a lot of your profits are going to come from a small period of time. And once you add this consistency rule, it basically negates this whole thing being able to be possible, where you have, the 80-20 rule. So what do you think about that? And because I know you're just recently on the instant funded.
Yeah. As I said, like from a personal, like I'm already almost halfway to getting a payout on the instant accounts that I got. But I think just what I've seen, I think it actually personally suits my trading quite nicely, because how I trade my personal accounts as well is like, I'm not looking for massive moves. I'm literally like snag and bag. Like I'll take my 1R, even sometimes less, most of the times actually less than 1R, and just be done with it. Or I'll cut my losing trade as well. So I think personally, I think it might suit my trading style better, as I've just explained about the whole process of like, you have to pass 1 and 2 phases, and then you can lose the fund account, but you actually still be net a profitable trader. I think personally, it suits the way that I trade. And actually, I haven't even been looking at the consistency score. Like I only look at it at the end of the day. I've told myself this is how much I'm going to risk per trade on the accounts, and that's what I'm going to do. And then if my consistency score is a bit higher, I'm just going to continue trading until I meet it, and I'll take the payout. Obviously, as I said, I'm only halfway. I've literally just started last week, so I'm halfway to getting a payout. But I mean, like literally, you won't be halfway to getting a payout if you're taking like a 2-step challenge, that type of. And Thomas, because you took the CFD accounts as well. So I don't know. I think it personally for me, it does suit the style that I trade. As I said, like I'm not like a Zach who maybe trades like might take like a bunch of losses and then have like a runner. That's not our trade. So I think that personally for me, that the instant accounts are going to even suit the way that I trade even more. Maybe if you like a Zach that you can't deal with the consistency or whatever it is, so you then do combines or 2-step challenges with the CFDs side of things like that, So, but that's not how I trade personally. I'm like, okay, I'll stack my wins slow, snag and bag,
I think it comes back to what we always say. It just depends on your trading style.
Agreed. Yeah. Everyone's different.
Randy, what do you think about it?
I was just thinking so I don't know, kind of listening to you talk about it and how like this, you said the voodoo curse is it. And this is where like, I don't know if I'm just kind of like going into the weeds about it, but I talked to Thomas about this in Tampa, is that now like I have an instant funded account. Are you telling yourself now that it's instant funded, you should be getting a payout faster than if it was a combine? Like now this has become easy. And now that you've put that term easy in your mind, where Thomas, like the original top 1 accounts were very easy to get a payout on. The rules were, they didn't do the best job of setting up the whatever. No need to get into it, but it was a very easy account to get the payouts on. That's the reason they changed all the rules. And Thomas said to me in Tampa that these accounts are so easy to get a payout on, but he's not getting a payout on those accounts. So now have you convinced yourself, like it's like self-sabotage is such a real thing and people don't talk about it. I still do it to this day, but it's like I got this account. I paid for me, it's for a 150K. They're like, it works at like 600 Canadian. So it's a good investment. Like it's not pennies. And then now it's like, I got this account. So now I have the added pressure of the $600, but then I add this pressure that it's instant funded and I just got to hit this target and I'm going to get paid on it. I don't have a combine eval, none of that stuff. Yeah. And I don't know, like, that's just like what I see. Like, and obviously I have these same struggles, but like I said, like, look at Thomas went back to combines and just crushes it. And he's doing some of his best trading he's done in a while. But it's like, I don't know how it's prop firms, right? Like it's all marketing. Everything's marketing. And there's a reason that they market the accounts, and there's a reason they have this payout target. Like there's math that goes into all of this, like how to make the company profitable and the trader, unfortunately, not profitable, right? So
Yeah.
And like for me, like just to speak on the personal experience side, like I was mentally self-sabotaging myself with this consistency rule and profit target. I was telling myself, oh, I can't trade for real. I can't, if there was a runner, I can't even have the runner. And I was like destroying my whole like mental game in the moment. And so that's why I just went back to a combine, which, went back to XFAs. I passed the XFAs because there's no consistency rule. There's no profit target. You just trade. And because my whole goal is I want to trade well for a month and take money out. That's all I want. And the Top Step, XFA allows for that. But on the mental game of trading, I know, James, you've read this book and you love this book. I do as well.
Yeah.
I just want to talk for a moment about the inchworm concept that Jared Tendler talks about when this is with all mental performance or like high performance athletes, traders, poker players, tennis players is, we're going to have days when we're on our A game and we're going to have days where we're on our C game. How can we identify it before it happens? And then what are we going to do about it? So how do you deal with this, James?
Yeah. For those that haven't read the book, I think they definitely should go and do so, because I think it's a great book. I think even there's another book that I would also say there's a couple, but that's probably my all-time favorite from Jared Tendler, the inchworm concept. So basically, what the concept is, and I don't know if you guys have spoken about it on the podcast before, but basically what it is, it's a lot of traders think that to make more money, they need to make more profits. So obviously P&L in trading is your gross profits minus your gross losses gives you your net profits, right? Simple business 101. But a lot of traders think that to make more money, they didn't, like, let's just say simple trader example. Trader A makes $10,000 in the year and in terms of profits, and his losses are $8,000 in the year, so he makes $2,000 net profit. Instead of trying to go make more money, just work on reducing the losses. Okay, so the dumb days where you oversize, or you try and revenge trade, or you move your stop loss, stuff like this. So you can get your losses to maybe $4,000. So if you increased by 100% technically in terms of losses, but you've reduced them by 50%, and now your losses are $4,000. Well, now your net profits are $6,000. You've basically 3x'd your gains, on the year. And that's what Jared Tendler speaks about. And I've been working on this, as you've heard, I've hired a performance coach. I've been working on this since 2023 when I read the book properly. I read it at the end of 2021. I don't think I really fully grasped the concepts until 2023. But that was at the end of 2022. I had about 20, and I spoke about this at the conference in London, Thomas. But I had like 20 odd trading days where I lost 5% on my personal trading account or more. And I think I ended that year about 60% ROI on my personal account. Okay. And I told myself the next year, instead of trying to go make more on my winning days, I'm going to stop being an idiot on those 20 days where I lost 5% or more of my trading account. And that's where the next year, I think I had 4 of them in 2023. So a lot less mentally taxing because you're not taking big hits. But I didn't make more percentages, by the way. I didn't make more percent because I think the currency market kind of dried up then. And that's when we were kind of switching over to the indexes. But I saw end of the year up like 35%. But in terms of the losses, I was focusing on trying not to have that mentally draining and getting knocked on those losing days as much. And I think that's kind of helped me in my trading in terms of the mental game of trading as well, because I think a lot of traders actually can make money trading. They'll be profitable for like 4 days out of the week, and then all of a sudden on the Friday they'll stuff it all up, or they'll be profitable for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden they have like a complete crap week where they're not seeing it right. And that's going to happen in trading, but they just continue pressing and then they throw it all away. So that's kind of like what my work-ons have been with the mental game of trading, because no one's perfect, right? You got to make mistakes. It's about trying to reduce the cost of them.
So sorry, Christina.
That's
Since,
okay.
since reading the book to now, is there anything you do on a daily basis to help you reduce the chances of you having a blowout day?
Yeah, I've got a lockout feature on my trade copier that I have, so I can't lose in excess of that amount. Similar to how you guys have the lockout feature on Project X now. I mean, I've got it on my trade copier, so I can't take excessive amounts of drawdown. That's been something that I've had to obviously automate, because sometimes as us humans, we want to continue pressing. But I think for me, a big one is my preparation. Like in the mornings, this is something that I'm working a lot on with my my performance coach, is just getting, like saying a prayer in the morning, just being in the right state of mind, because sometimes, you're going to have a tired, long evening after, having a child, 4-month-old can be quite tough. So you just be making sure you're in the right state of mind. And I think that's something that's helped me in terms of my capping my downside, is preparation, but then also having those max loss rules. And that's something I didn't have before. I'd just be like, okay, well, I'm just trading today, instead of being like trading with a purpose, and having work-ons to actually improve.
Christine, what do you want to add?
I was going to say, when you were talking about those ups and downs where you have times when you're not reading the market right, in the prop space, I think we have to name this like the blow up week or something.
Yeah.
Because in prop space, that's the week where you literally blow every account that you currently own.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you had a personal account, you would be able to look back at that year and be like, okay, I was down 5% that week. Next year I need to make that 4%. But because you're in prop space, you actually lose those accounts. Then you have to rebuy those accounts. And are you buying the same accounts? Are you trying a different prop firm? Are you trying a different account? Like, it almost breaks up this like nice progress that you can look at. And I do find that a little difficult, like with what you just talked about, us being up and down. And sometimes you have down times as a trader, but then you get back into the role and you can bring yourself out of this drawdown. But in prop space, you're just doing it kind of cut off and just totally differently almost. And I wonder if that makes it more difficult. Obviously we do prop for a reason. We're not trying to lose all of our money in our bank account. So I understand why we do it. But does that like contribute to making it a little bit more difficult to kind of follow this like inchworm idea, where you can really judge how your performance is and really compare how you've changed over a year?
Well, I'm going to say you should be putting all your accounts on TradeZilla so you can track them nicely. So.
I do. But then you go to a different account. So you don't have this longevity of accounts. Then you have to go back. Okay, well, I traded this account for 20 days. I traded this account for 50 days. And then like you have information, but it's not all like.
Yeah, personally, this is something that's actually helped me quite a lot, is that when I trade my accounts, I actually have like a master account that I trade, which is a personal account that I trade all the time, no matter what. And that's where I can actually track my like baseline. Like I agree with you. It can be quite hard tracking all the accounts, but that's where I track like my baseline, like how am I trading? Okay, I did well these 2 weeks and what happened this. So I have like a master account that I'm trading all the time, and all my accounts have been copied from.
That's very cool, Randy. We've been talking about that, is opening up our personal account, making that our master account, taking our trades and using a trade copier and just trading it on all of our prop accounts.
That's what I've been doing for 4 years now, since I started trading prop firms.
Yeah. And the one thing I do love about you, James, and I don't know if as many people know this, you're not just a day trader. Like, I think you're one of the best examples of someone that's made a business out of trading, because you day trade, you swing trade, you investment, like you've created your whole life and business around not like more than just day trading. And I think that's good for me to be reminded of, because I need to do that too. I want this to be my career, and it's not just sitting here, getting 1 hour a day. There's more to it, and you can really expand this business, not just day trading, but like swing trading, for example. Like, I know you in the beginning would always tell me it's the same thing. You just keep it on for a couple of days, and you can like make this more passive income.
Yeah, I still love swing trading stocks personally. My dad and I speak about it quite often because he does a bit of stock trading as like swing trades as well. So I enjoy it. I think also I think that everybody, when I first at least was like got into trading, everyone's like, I want to trade full time, whatever it is. I think it's probably the dumbest thing to do, in my opinion, just what I think, because like imagine you day trade for like 2 hours a day and then all of a sudden what are you going to do? Like there's nothing else to do. And also in terms of pressure, like I had day trading as my only source of income for about a year and a bit. And I think it was probably the most stressful time in my life. And I was only 22 at the time. Thank goodness I wasn't older. But like I just come off a great year and then I spent like 7 months in drawdown, but I'm still having to take money out of my personal account to pay for monthly expenses. And I think like, as I said, like you can have, and then you can have like 3 months make your whole year. But if you're having to pull from that account all the time, it adds up in the pressure. So I think you should have other stuff that you do with your time, whether that's making content and maybe doing work for other businesses. For me personally, I'm still actually probably next year going to do my CFP, so certified financial planning. I might want to do some work in terms of like wealth management on the side in the mornings, and because then I get to interact with more people in person here in South Africa. So I think you should have different things, ways to do money, make money, and day trading is just one aspect of it. And then you basically can, and that doesn't mean it could be your main source of income. You can still have it be your main source of income, but you can do other things that actually not only make you money, but which takes pressure off of your day trading decisions, but also actually keeps you busy and active. Like maybe sometimes when it's trading is not going so great and you actually need a little bit of a break from trading, or the markets aren't presenting how you would like it to, that's just my own thoughts. I don't know.
It's a perfect segue into my favorite tweet by you, James. It's a beautiful tweet. Doctors don't think about paychecks mid-surgery. Ballers don't think about contracts mid-game. They focus on execution, so should you. And you can't focus on execution alone if you have money on your mind, if you're day trading full time. I learned that from personal experience. You know that it's impossible. And this is a masterclass on how to set your mindset up to trade from a position of strength rather than a position of weakness.
Yeah. I mean, that's what a tweet. What a tweet.
What a tweet, dude.
I was waiting for that.
I think personally, like, I think there's a lot, as I said, like I think the reason I also did, kind of helped me was I used to put all my my identity in me playing rugby. And then when I bust my knee up and I couldn't play rugby for 9 months because I tore my ACL in my left knee, it kind of like, you sit yourself and you're like, geez, like I was putting everything, like my whole identity in just being able to do one thing. And I think if you only trade, it can be a bit of a tough one. That's why I think like this, you should go and do other things, like in terms of other businesses that keep you having purpose and keep you kind of off the charts when you don't need to be. Otherwise you're going to be trading Asian session, London session, New York session. You're going to be looking at charts all day, every single day, and I think that's probably the worst thing to do. In fact, actually, I think in June, one of my goals with my performance coach was also to not be on the desk for more than 3 hours a day. And I've been doing about like an hour and a bit in the New York session with obviously trading live on stream. And then maybe like literally 30 minutes in London session. And it's been like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And my mental health has been like way up because I'm not staring at charts all the time. It can be draining, Mm-hmm. You should have other things that you do. That's like the main, I always preach that. Yeah,
man, I think we should put a pin in it here. I feel like there's so many, if you really take stuff away from this conversation, hear what we're saying. I think there's so many gems in here to transform anybody's trading. If you're in a rut, if you're on a high peak, and is there anything anyone wants to leave the audience with before we wrap up?
Just seeing James blush is priceless. I think we just got to make sure we zoom in on those rosy red cheeks, and that's it.
Yeah. All right.
But no, one thing before though is that I'm actually, as I said, I'm off to Europe to get my my Hungarian passport. So hopefully at the next seminars and that to allow me to come to the States. So from 2026, call it, we'll be coming and seeing each other all in person. Yeah.
That'll
I'm
be
looking
awesome.
forward to it, Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks
Cheers,
for having
everybody.
me. Appreciate it.
See you on the next one.